Netflix is back with another true crime drama, all about notorious serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. Titled Dahmer Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, the series sees Evan Peters starring in the titular role, and it's a harrowing depiction of horrific true events. Also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, Jeffrey Dahmer was responsible for the murder of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. Here's a run-through of the true story behind the Netflix Jeffrey Dahmer series. Who was Jeffrey Dahmer? Dahmer was born in 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is where he also went on to commit most of his crimes. Reports have claimed that Dahmer was interested in dead animals from a young age, and even started collecting the skeletons of small animals and roadkill. He's also said to have been an outsider at high school. Which crimes did Jeffrey Dahmer commit? Dahmer was responsible for the murder of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. His sickening murders involved dismemberment, necrophilia, and cannibalism, with Dahmer later becoming known as the Milwaukee Cannibal. He was also found to have preserved body parts in his home. Prior to the murders, Dahmer had been arrested on various occasions, including for groping a young boy. He committed his first murder just 3 weeks after graduating high school in 1978. He killed his second victim in late 80s, after a stint in the army, continuing for years up until his arrest in 1991. Dahmer's victims were predominantly Black, Asian, and Latino men, ranging in age from 14 to 33. He would meet victims in various places, including at gay bars and in malls. Victims: June 18, 1978, Stephen Mark Hicks, 18. He was bludgeoned with a dumbbell and strangled to death with this instrument before being dismembered. Remains pulverized and scattered in woodland behind Dahmer's childhood home. November 20, 1987, Stephen Walter Twomey, 25. Killed in a rented room at the Ambassador Hotel in Milwaukee. January 16, 1988, James Edward Dockstader. March 24, Richard Guerrero, 22, drugged and strangled in Dahmer's bedroom at West Allis, and no remains were ever found. 1989. March 25, Anthony Lee Sears, 24. Sears was the last victim to be drugged and strangled at Dahmer's grandmother's residence. 1990. May 20th, Raymond Lamont Smith, also known as Ricky Beeks, 32. The first victim to be killed at Dahmer's North 25th Street apartment. Smith was a male sex worker whom Dahmer encountered at a tavern. June 14th, Edward Warren Smith, 27. Dahmer acidified Smith's skeleton. His skull was destroyed unintentionally when placed in the oven in an effort to remove moisture. September 2nd, Ernest Marquez Miller, 22. September 24th, David Courtney Thomas, 22. 1991. February 18th, Curtis Durrell Strutter, 17th. April 7th, Errol Lindsay, 19. The first victim upon whom Dahmer practiced what he later described to investigators as his drilling technique, a procedure in which he drilled holes into the victim's skull, through which he injected hydrochloric acid into the brain. According to Dahmer, Lindsay awoke after this practice, after which he was again rendered unconscious with a drink laced with sedatives, then strangled to death. He also murdered, May 24th, Tony Anthony Hughes, 31st. May 27th, Connor Axantha 14th. June 30th, Matt Cleveland Turner, 20th. July 5th, Jeremiah Benjamin Weinberger, 23rd. July 15th, Oliver Joseph Lacey, 24th. July 19th, Joseph Arthur Braidhoft, 25. When was Jeffrey Dahmer convicted? Dahmer was ultimately caught when one of his victims, Tracy Edwards, escaped and was found running down the street with a pair of handcuffs dangling from his wrist. He told police that Dahmer was trying to kill him, with authorities going on to find body parts preserved in his apartment. In court, a sanity trial found Dahmer to be legally sane. He was jailed for life in 1992, given 15 consecutive life sentences, equating to 957 years in prison. He was also later issued a 16th life sentence. He reportedly told the court, "I never wanted freedom. Frankly, I wanted death for myself. I knew I was sick or evil or both. Doctors have told me about my sickness, and now I have some peace. I know how much harm I have caused. I feel so bad for what I did to those poor families." When did Jeffrey Dahmer die? In 1994, just 2 years into his sentence, Dahmer was attacked and killed by fellow prison inmate Christopher Scarver, who hit him over the head with a metal bar. 20 years later, in 2015, Scarver said in a New York Post interview, "Some people who are in prison are repentant, but he was not one of them." Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story is streaming on Netflix now. Jeffrey Dahmer is a hit for Netflix and for Ryan Murphy. Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story drew a huge audience on its launch with 196.2 million hours watched since its launch on September 21st. Those numbers put it in the very top tier of Netflix hits since it changed the way that it reports ratings figures in June 2021. It's hard to compare to Murphy's other Netflix series such as The Politician, September 2019, Hollywood, May 2020, Ratched, September 2020, and Halston, May 2021, as they all debuted before Netflix shifted the way that it reports its data, but it's likely that the Jeffrey Dahmer story is significantly bigger than all of those shows. What are your thoughts about the new Murphy's Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story series? Did Evan Peters do a good job acting as Jeffrey Dahmer? Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel.